Hey guys, and welcome to finally a new book haul. I have not posted a book haul on this channel in probably about like 4 months now, I think it is, so I definitely am overdue to share with you guys the books that I have accumulated over the last few months. In the background you might have seen some of them in my video. I used to have like a big old stack of them right over here. I've just been waiting to have time to sit down and talk to you guys about. Some of these books I have read, so you might have seen them recently in wrap-up videos over the past couple months or in like TBR videos and stuff like that, but I have gathered all of them here together to talk with you guys today, and I'm really excited because there's so many good books in these piles. I have them literally like on the desk all spread out in front of me right now. I was counting them up, and all together in the past 4 months I have acquired 34 books, which in total is kind of a lot. So exactly half of these books I purchased for myself, and half of them were books that were either sent to me by publishers, marketing stuff, or kindly from you guys from my Amazon wish list. I don't know exactly what order I want to talk about these books in, but I am so far, I've read 7 of the ones that I have purchased myself, and 2 of them I'm like currently reading right now. And then for the books that were like sent and gifted to me, I've read about 4 of those ones. So I do have a lot of books in these piles that I have not had a chance to get to yet. Like I said, about half of them, about 17 of them I have not. So let's just go ahead and get into them. I'm gonna just start with the pile that's closest to me, and this is a pile of books that I all purchased while I was on vacation. So the first one was my actually most recent purchase, which was Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin. I actually do already own a larger hardback copy of this, but I wanted something smaller to take with me. I thought when I went to the Dominican Republic last week that I was going to read more of this. I think I read the first just 1 chapter on the plane and that was it. So that was kind of the waste to buy this one for my trip. But you know, I wanted to have a book to take with me on my trip, a physical book, and I didn't want to take that large one. And then about a month ago I was in Oregon and I was able to go to Powell's Books, one of my favorite bookshops, and I purchased 4 books there. I kind of limited myself. I wanted to get books that were fairly small because I was traveling just carry-on only, so I didn't really have a lot of room to take a lot of stuff back with me. So I was able to pick up 4 books while I was there. I actually just finished this one, Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson. I just finished this one a few days ago. I started this book also when I was on my trip last week in the Dominican Republic, and I really enjoyed this book. And this is not a review. I will be talking about this book more in my November wrap-up, but yes, this is one I have finished. So I'll just talk more about that one later. So the other 3 I picked up from Powell's. The first one is Sisters by Daisy Johnson. I think this book was maybe like on one of my most anticipated releases for like 2021 or something like that. We're following 2 girls, July and September, and it has something to do with them being born just 10 months apart. And following a case of school bullying, the teens moved away with their single mother to a long abandoned family home near the shore. And we have Follow Me to Ground by Sue Rainsford. In this book we're following a young woman, and she's forming this new relationship, but her and her father have had the same routine for years, and they live in this small village, healing the illnesses of people who live there. I'm not sure if this is a book I'm going to end up enjoying, but I wanted to see for myself and see if I like it or not. The last book that I picked up from Powell's was a book that just caught my eye when I was walking around the shop, and this one is The Sellout by Paul Beatty. I feel like I've heard of this book, but I never really knew what it was about. Like, I'd seen it around before. So The Sellout, we're following a man whose father's racially charged psychological studies will lead to a memoir that will solve their financial problems, but when his father is killed in a police shootout, all that's left is a bill for a drive-through funeral. Fueled by deceit, the narrator sets out to right another wrong. I really enjoy the color scheme on this book cover as well. And then the last book I picked up while I was traveling was in Bend, Oregon. There was this bookshop, I'm now forgetting the name of it, and it was all used books and stuff, and I picked up this classic Jack and Jill by Louisa May Alcott. This is a junior deluxe edition. I haven't actually read this children's classic before, but this was only $5 and it was so cute, and I've never seen these editions before. It has these really cute illustrations on the inside, as well as I think there's pictures, yes, throughout the book as well. Let's see if I can find one to show you guys, but yeah, I thought this was really cute. They had other books in this edition. There's also like a sprayed edge on the top, but this was the only one that I picked up from that shop. Okay, next, the next closest stack right by me here is a stack of books that were sent to me kindly from you guys from my Amazon wish list, so thank you very much. I actually only have read one of these ones of the 4 so far, and the first one I did read was A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, inspired by an idea from Siobhan Dowd, illustrations by Jim Kay. I really enjoyed this book. It's I think the genre is middle grade, maybe like young adult. I really enjoyed the design of this book. It's illustrated and the way it's laid out and everything is really good. The story itself is we're following this kid who has this monster that visits him at night, while at the same time he's dealing with, in his personal life, his mother being sick and going through treatments. I still have not watched the movie for this yet, now that I finished the book, so that's something I need to put on my to-do list soon, hopefully. Next, we have this beautiful edition of Joe Abercrombie's The Blade Itself, which I believe is part of the first book in the First Law trilogy. I do like to keep up with the books that the Catch Up Book Club reads, and I believe this is the next series that's going to be picked up next year, now that they're finished with the Realm of the Elderling series. So I have the first book in that series ready to go. I really love this edition. I really hope I end up enjoying this series, because if I do, then I will be picking up the other 2 books in the rest of the trilogy as well. I haven't read anything by Joe Abercrombie. I don't really even know too much about the series. I do know a lot of people have read this series and enjoyed it, so I'm kind of just going to go into this one blindly and hope for the best. Next, we have a nonfiction book, and that is Women Who Wrote Stories and Poems from Audacious Literary Mavens. So this book is published by Thomas Nelson, and it's such a beautiful naked hardback. I love the design on this book, and inside there are different short biographies by Dana Chambly and Carpenter on each of the authors, and a selection of stories from each of these. So we have like Jane Austen, Louisa May Alcott, Edith Wharton, Zora Neale Hurston, as well as some poems from different authors, female authors as well, like the Brontes, Emily Dickinson. So I feel like this is a nice curated collection of stories and poems, like the title says. So I can't wait to get to this one as well. I should have read this for Nonfiction November, but I guess it's kind of fiction and nonfiction, since there's like a biography of each author and then some of their writing. And then the last one that was sent to me from Amazon was The History of the Ancient World, From the Earliest Accounts to the Fall of Rome by Susan Wise Bauer. This book I have had on my Amazon wishlist, I think, since I like made an Amazon when I was a teenager or something like this. I've had this book on my wishlist for a long time, so I'm glad to finally have it. It's a very chunky one, so I don't know if it's something I'm necessarily going to read from cover to cover, which I would love to, but you know, that is quite a lot of nonfiction to be reading, because this is like a textbook basically, but I feel like it'll be cool to dip in and out of different chapters when I have different interests that come up, when I want to read a little bit more about a certain period of time. I really do like have an interest in history, but I also have the worst memory, so I put off reading nonfiction books about him, because I'm like, once I finish reading, I'm probably gonna forget everything that I just read. But I do love learning about history. So thank you to those who sent me those books. I appreciate it so much. I don't expect it, but when I do get books in the mail, it is very much a nice surprise for the day, so it definitely makes my day when I do get books like that. Next, on to the books that I purchased myself, and then we'll go on to the books that publishers sent me. So for the books I've purchased myself that are not part of a series, because most of the books I've purchased for myself, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 of them were books that were all part of the Realm of the Elderling series. So the ones I purchased that weren't part of that series, the first one we have is Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow. I read this book, gave it 5 stars, and I definitely wanted to own a physical copy of it for my shelves. The same goes for the other book that I want to show you guys too, which is The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. Both of these books I gave 5 stars and want to reread eventually again in the future, so I decided to pick them up for myself so that I can put them on my shelves. Eventually, when I reorganize my shelves, which probably won't be anytime soon, I kind of want to have like a section where I have all of the books that I've given 5 stars to. I think that would be just very pleasing for me to look at and like see all the books that are my favorites, my top books of all time, all together. I think that would be really cool, but like I said, I'm not redoing my shelves anytime soon, so at least not until I'm done with my bookshelf tour series, and then maybe I'll go ahead and do it. It's been a while since I read Memphis though, to be honest. I think it was like closer to the beginning of the year, so I don't remember a lot of the details of the book, but I do remember really enjoying reading this one. And the second one is more fresher in my mind, The Marriage Portrait, because I finished this one not too long ago and I've been talking nonstop about it since. And that this one is more of a historical fiction novel. This one is set in Italy, I believe, and the other one was set like the title would suggest, in Memphis. The next two books are both from the same publisher, Persephone Classics. Because I did read the Persephone Classic I already owned on my shelf, I decided to treat myself to a couple more books from this publisher. So the two I got are these here. I love the covers on these. Most of them have great covers, so I think once I collect all the ones that have the pictures on them, then I'll start getting some of the ones that are just like the completely gray design. The first one is really tiny. This one here is Cheerful Weather for the Wedding by Julia Strachey. I didn't expect it to be this thin, but that's pretty good because I'll be able to read this one very quickly then. It won't be sitting on my shelves for so long. In this novella, we're following, it takes place on a brisk English March day. Dolly is getting ready to marry the Han Owen Bingham, waylaid by the sulking admirer who lost his chance with her, an astonishingly oblivious mother, and her own sinking dread. The bride-to-be struggles to reach the altar with the help of a bottle of rum. This one's described as a domestic comedy, and I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I think December is going to be the month for this. And then the other one is Mariana by Monica Dickens, which is also described as a humorous novel, which I don't know if that's like something Persephone Books reaches for, or just I happen to pick up those ones from their collection. This book is a coming-of-age story following our main character Mariana in the 1930s in England. This one, like I said, also says humorous parts in it, so we'll see how funny it is when I actually read it. And then this last stack of books that I purchased for myself were all books that are part of the Realm of the Elderling series. I now have all of the books that are part of the series. I'm almost done with them. I just started the first book in the last trilogy, so that would be Fool's Assassin here. I literally just started it. I think I've only read like one chapter or so. These are quite thick, so it's gonna take me a while. I purchased the complete Rain Wild Chronicles series, which is Dragon Keeper, Dragon Haven, City of Dragons, and Blood of Dragons, which all together of these series that I've read that are all part of this world, this one was my least favorite of them. I guess if I were to say, I just don't really like reading books from the perspective of a dragon. I guess something I'm learning about myself, but I did enjoy these books, but like I said, not as much as the rest of the series. But I'm hoping that now I'm reading the final trilogy in the Realm of the Elderling series, which is the Fitz and the Fool series. I'm hoping that I'm really going to enjoy these ones. So like I said, I just started Fool's Assassin, and then we have Fool's Quest and Assassin's Fate, which this one is very chunky and intimidating of the most of them. This is almost 900 pages, like 850 pages. This one is going to definitely take me a long time. I think all three of these honestly are going to take a long time. They're all really thick books, but it's okay. I'm not in a rush. And then lastly, we have this nice stack of books here, which were all sent to me from publishers. I don't show all of the books that I receive from publishers just because sometimes I do get unsolicited ones that I really have absolutely no interest in reading. But these ones here are all ones that I accepted. Most of them are ones I did. They reached out to me first before they sent them, or like have you fill out a survey or whatever if you're interested in receiving a copy of the book. So we'll go through them. First, I'll show you the ones that I have read, which is only 3 out of this pile so far, which is not the best percentage, but it's okay. I'm working through them. The first one is The Deceptions by Jill Bielowski. This book, as with all of these, were published this year. This one I really did enjoy, and I'm going to be keeping it on my shelves. A lot of times too, if publishers send me a book and I don't really care for it that much, I get rid of a lot of them or pass them on to other people. In this book, we're following a woman kind of going into this new phase of her life as she's, I think it was her kid, is just like moving out of the house, and her new poetry book is about to be released, and also her marriage, which she's been in for like 20 years, estranged. So she's really going through a time of like inner turmoil and figuring herself out. And also there's a lot of references to Greek and Roman gods because she likes to visit the Met in New York, that museum. I really enjoyed this one. And that was a book that I had seen around, and I didn't necessarily, I don't think that was a book that while I had seen around, I didn't think I necessarily was going to pick it up, but when I received a copy, I read it and I really enjoyed it. So I'm glad that I gave that one a chance. And so then we also have here Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This book is a locked room mystery. It takes place like with some gothic atmosphere vibes because we're following this family who's all being gathered for their grandma's like 80th birthday. It takes place on this island where when the tide comes in, they all get cut off from the world basically for 8 hours as people slowly, it's no spoiler that Nana is found dead, and one by one people seem to be going missing from this party. So I liked that one. It was not one of my like favorite of all time mystery thrillers, but it was definitely interesting. I think I gave that one like 4 stars or something. And then we have Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng, which is the most recent one that I finished and one of my most anticipated books of the year. I really do enjoy Celeste Ng's writing. This book though, I have to say, I think is my least favorite of the ones that Celeste Ng has released. I can't remember now if I ended up giving this one like 3 or 4 stars. I think this one I actually still need to talk about in my November wrap up. Yeah, this is one I still need to talk about, so I'm not going to go too much into details with this one here. I'll save that for my November wrap up. Okay, the rest of these, instead of like telling you exactly what the synopsis is, I'm just going to tell you why I feel like I'm going to like them and kept them on my shelves. So the first one is Tell Me I'm an Artist by Chelsea Martin. This book takes place in a school setting at an art school in San Francisco, so that is what intrigued me to read this one. The next one is by Richard Wright. It's called The Man Who Lived Underground. It's an unpublished novel by the author of Native Son. Native Son and Black Boy are 2 of my books I have loved by Richard Wright, and I haven't really read anything else by him, so I'm excited to pick this one up. Even though it's like an unpublished novel, I am hoping that I still will enjoy it, even though it's probably not as polished as if it had been published when he was still alive. Then we have The Wild Hunt by Emma Seckel. This book takes place on an island. Yes, but what intrigued me about this book is on this island, like during October, there's these ominous bird-like creatures of Celtic legend, Slaw, or come alive or something like that. And it seems like it's a very like atmospheric gothy vibes, so I'm here for that. Then we have a nonfiction book, I Dream with Open Eyes, a memoir about reimagining home by George Protnick. First off, I just really love the cover on this book. I love the design. I think it's really nice. This book is interesting because we're following the author's family and their decision to leave the United States. So I'm interested to see how what like stuff he talks about and stuff too, because I feel like I'm someone who is not tied to, I mean, I love living in California, but I'm not tied to living in the United States like forever. Like if I were to eventually travel somewhere and like super fall in love with somewhere I traveled, then I would be open to moving, but I mean probably most likely not, but it's interesting to think about. Next we have A Brighter Flame by Christine Nolfi. I think this book is kind of like mystery or like drama a little bit. We're following a girl as she's being, because of circumstances, having to move back to her small hometown where there's all these secrets that end up coming out and small town politics and stuff like that. So that's what interested me in this one. And we have The Islands by Diane Irving. This is a short story collection, and this all follows the lives of different Jamaican women who are either immigrants or the descendants of immigrants. And these stories are set all over like United States, Jamaica, Europe, all these different places, and that sounds really interesting to me. Then we have Everything the Light Touches by Janice Perriat. This book is a really multi-layered story because we're following all these different travelers. All their stories, I guess, somehow interconnect or they're all brought together. Like we're following an Indian woman who's journeying to India's northeast, and we're following another one, a Cambridge student who's looking at the forests of the lower Himalayas, as well as like a whole bunch of other people. So I'm really interested to see how the author like connects all these different travelers' stories. Next we have Blue Like Me by Aaron Philip Clarke. In this book we're following a former detective who is investigating the LAPD and trying to discover dirty cops. And we have another mystery, and that is Reader, I Murdered Him by Betsy Cornwell. In this book it is a historical fiction thriller, and we're following 2 women who become vigilantes and mete out their own justice. Last but not least, we have The Widow by Kyra Ruda. I believe this one is kind of more of like a domestic mystery where we're following this couple who seem like they have everything perfect. Her husband's a political icon and they've been together for a lot of years, so I guess he has an affair, but the wife knows about it and she's fine with it, but then when the public finds out, it kind of kills his career. And when he suddenly dies, it's a chance to change the narrative, but the reporter won't let go of his lead, and there's nothing this ruthless widow won't do to secure the future that she feels that she's entitled to. So those are all 34 books I wanted to share with you guys today. I know I have so many that I need to get to reading still, which makes me very excited. I'm thinking next month I'm actually going to try to read 30 books. I don't know, we'll try. I feel like this is something I ended up doing a lot at the last month of the year, so I felt like it would be something fun to try, and I'm thinking about vlogging it. We'll see. I mean, it's kind of going to be no pressure, like if I get to 30, if not, it's fine, but I thought it would be something fun to do over the next few weeks, so we'll see. You'll probably see then at least a few of these being read during the month of December, hopefully. But that's it for today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.